question considering. Neil. Me and Stefan thought it's a perfectly reasonable question considering.
About horses?
Yeah.
Or, well, suicide. Okay, so.
Or committed suicide by horse.
Last week I celebrated 25 years in Moscow.
Oh, great.
I came here. Thank you.
Congratulations.
I came
You're
here.
probably the only American who survived in Russia that long.
No, that's not true. I know a few other old timers who have made it as long or longer than I have, but having been here for 25 years, I guess I'd like to talk about 3 experiences I had in the 90's that were dangerous and that I learned something from. So, first of all, Mark, what's the difference between danger and dangerous, harmful, and hazardous?
Hazardous, a material can be hazardous.
Okay.
Like it's unpredictable, so to speak.
Okay.
Biologically active.
Good point.
Dangerous doesn't imply harmful necessarily.
Right.
And
Can be
dangerous
useful.
or general.
Something is dangerous. It
Could
will
be hazardous.
it will put you in danger.
Perilous.
Define a word using the word. Yes.
Perilous.
Danger
Okay,
could
for
kill you
example,
right now.
Risk.
For example, smoking cigarettes is harmful.
Yes.
And
Or
dangerous.
hazardous.
Or dangerous.
No, not
Well,
dangerous.
cigarettes are hazardous
But-
gas.
But
It's
for
a-
example, okay, dangerous.
Characteristic of something.
For example, walking, horse riding without protection can can be dangerous.
So you need to wear a condom when riding a horse.
You do, Neil, you do. I wear a riding hat, you wear a condom. Yeah? Different horses for different needs.
Neil, it's dangerous for the horse. Not for the rider. So it is dangerous. If you're from perspective of the horse, it's dangerous.
Okay, I'm going to go with this because basically something that's harmful, it like adds up and could eventually kill you or make you sick. So being exposed to radiation is harmful. It's also hazardous because hazardous and harmful are very similar, but more or less harmful will cause an effect that eventually you'll have something bad. Hazardous could happen, it couldn't happen, might be exposed to something, a virus, might build up, might not. Dangerous means right now could die.
So
Okay?
if I get it right, dangerous is like a concrete situation or a thing which is happening to you right now, which could kill you. Harmful is which definitely will kill you or harm you. And hazardous is potentially harmful or dangerous.
Right, which is why cigarettes usually say hazardous because they may or may not kill you in the end. Whereas something that's harmful, something is building up, right?
Yeah. So seriously, horse riding. So horse riding without a hat is dangerous.
Right.
Because either you'll get injured if the horse runs and you fall off
On your head.
on your head. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so 3 stories of danger in the 90s. I came to Moscow in February 18th, 1994 to work for Ross Inter's American Bar and Grill on Mayakovskaya. It was a legendary place. It was open at least 15, 18 years. It's not there now. But at the time, this was my first real exposure to how things happen in Russia. This is where I learned the word patron, because I was supposed to be running a bar, and the bar had no water, and I said, we need to fix that, and people said, patron. So as we were actually running this bar, I literally had no hot water. I had cold water, which would fill up a pitcher in about half an hour. That's how slow the water poured. All the drains from the sinks were pouring onto the floor, ruining the wood, and threw the floor onto the street below us. One night, as I was running around in a panic and trying to figure out how I was going to serve so many people, and at this time, Ross Inter's American Bar and Grill was the #1 dollar business per square meter of any restaurant in the world. We had a perfect market. We had tons of people who wanted American-style service, food, steaks, burgers, and we put them in on a waiting list and made them sit at the bar. They waited 90 minutes, typically, at our bar, drinking. And so a typical day was just struggle after struggle. But one day, a car exploded outside of the entrance to American Bar and Grill. It was a white Mercedes. Something I learned from this experience is that when a car explodes on the ground floor of a building, it blows out all the windows on the second, third, and fourth floor. But since we were on the ground floor basement, you actually walked in and came down some stairs, our windows were untouched. But there was a white Mercedes that had just exploded and was burning now.
I'm sorry, but how happened that you had those windows after all? If you were in the underground floor.
Exactly. So when the car exploded, the explosion goes up, kind of, and didn't hit our windows. But it knocked out the windows from the second floor, third floor, and fourth floor.
Yeah, but where your windows were located?
Our windows were in the basement, the ground floor, and our windows didn't actually explode.
Okay, so half on the... Oh, you mean on those pits next to the building, right? Okay, got it.
Okay. So, and of course everybody in the place, because we're packed, does the logical thing. They run out onto the street to watch the fire. And I, first of all, not speaking any Russian, and second of all, having watched way too many action movies, I immediately assumed that because the car that was burning was next to another car, that in a couple of minutes the second car would explode. Logical, right? Well, here's what I learned. No, that didn't happen.
Did the tank detonate? Did the gas tank detonate?
No, the car exploded and the other car didn't explode, but it was sitting there, and there's a crowd of about 40 people on the street just looking, and the actual owner of the car. So as a new person in Moscow who didn't understand anything at all, I run out into the street in a panic, and I'm trying to say, get in, the other car is going to blow. And nobody understands me, nobody at all. The only word that I could think of that was appropriate for the situation, I'd heard this on the metro, Ostorojna. I tried this, and I tried picking up a piece of glass and throwing it on the ground, and finally there's this British guy in the club named John. John was visiting Moscow. He had a nightclub in, I want to say, Sochi. And he was a very relaxed kind of person. He kind of took me by the sleeve. He's like, Neil, come here, Neil. Relax. It's gonna burn. What you need to do, turn down the lights, put on some soft, relaxing music, and let people enjoy the fire. It's a romantic night. So the other car didn't blow up and nobody died, and I learned my first lesson about how things work in Moscow. Turn down the lights, put on a nice song, and just enjoy the fire.
Was it a British guy?
Yes, it was a British guy, but he knew Russia. He had been in Russia a lot longer than I had. I was this naive guy, and this guy, one of those mentors who sort of taught me how to live in Russia without giving myself a heart attack. Okay, so 3 stories, including dangerous situations. Story number 2. I used to believe that every person has some good in them. That all human beings, nobody's evil, nobody's really bad. All people have some good part in them. Until I started to date a girl named Sveta. Sveta, first of all, this is how much naivety I had in me. It's 1994. I'm actually under 30, and I used to visit this place in Gostinitsa Leningradskaya called Jacko's Bar. It was a legendary place. He had a casino, and he had great acts there, and a lot of expats came there. At this point in Moscow, there are really only 5 bars or nightclubs that, let's say, international people go to. And I met this girl, Sveta, there. She was clearly kind of the different kind of trolling. Trolling for a foreigner. She was in love with my passport. And her clever aim, thinking kind of, like a prostitute, was that she would get me to marry her and get out of all of this fun. So, it's kind of like mental illness. It was a really sick relationship, and I'm not normally in sick relationships where fucking and fighting and the whole thing. But it was, she was just completely. The British have a term. I can't remember the term. No, can't remember it. Anyway, she was absolutely balls to the wall crazy. And she was what? Balls to the wall crazy. Right? I think the British say perversely bloody minded or something like that. Okay, just this woman had no reason for logic. I hate to sound like a sexist or a misogynist here, but this woman was just really evil, but fun. But when I had an apartment whose lease was going to be up, first she insisted that I move in with her. Then we started fighting. This is during the process of moving things in and out, right? So literally I would carry my things into the apartment that she lived in. Then we'd have a fight and I'd be carrying them out of the apartment that she lived in and putting them back in the car. And this went back and forth for about 90 minutes. Before finally, in the midst of an argument, I picked up all the stuff that I had just brought in and started to bring it out, and I came out, and at her car was a guy with a kitchen knife, like, the blade was this long, but it's a kitchen knife, wooden handle. And he's going around her front windshield. He's loosening the rubber that holds her front windshield in, because his plan is to steal her windshield and sell it for like $20 at like a used car parts place. And I'm so absolutely angry, out of my mind crazy from the argument I just had with my girlfriend that I just, first of all, this guy's on the other side of the car with his big knife. He's on this side of the car, I'm on this side of the car. And literally, I'm just, and I just walk around the car, and I come at this guy like, what the fuck are you? He ran away. He threw the knife down, and he ran away. So while I was actually maybe in danger a little bit from a guy with a knife.
Did you possess the knife?
Huh?
Did you possess the knife?
No, I just left it on the ground. And
For someone else to come along and pick it up and take
steal a
someone
car,
else's.
or steal a car's windshield or whatever.
The term which comes to mind is fuckwit. Fuckwit.
Okay. He was a fuckwit.
Yes.
Yes, he was absolutely. So that's one knife story with Sveta, but there's a second knife story with Sveta. This one's better. After we had all been arguing constantly about where we're going to live and what we're going to do and whether I can trust her and why does she have like a package with literally hundreds of condoms in them and all this just like crazy sick shit. One night she calls me up and she says, hey, I want you to meet my friend Sergey. Come on over. Okay. So I come there, and she's got a little one-room apartment. He's sitting on the bed. There's a table in front of him. On the table is there some sausage that he's slicing pieces of, and a bottle of vodka with about this much left in the bottle. And Sveta says, oh, this is Sergey. He's a good friend of mine. He's kind of like a brother to me. I want you to meet him. Sit down, have a shot of vodka. And I sit, and Sergey's drunk, and this is a characteristic of the 90s. Everybody had seen the Godfather movies. People used words like capiche, right? Like where people normally will say понимаешь, they'll say capiche. And this guy Sergey actually was speaking with a Godfather kind of voice to me. He learned it from the movies. He was telling me, you know Neil. And I'm like, well, Sveta's not like a sister to me because, if I could trust, Sveta, then maybe, but my sister doesn't lie to me. And all of a sudden, the guy is behind me. He's picked up the knife, which, by the way, isn't very clean nor very sharp. And he's got it at my neck. And he's literally behind me, right? So he has one arm around my arms, and the other arm is holding the knife that's at my neck. And I can feel a little drop of blood, actually. I thought it was sweat at first, but and I couldn't move my hands to check, but I realized it was blood. And I had this really strange moment. I'm no kung fu fighter, right? I am absolutely helpless in the situation. I can't think of anything I can do. All I can think of is I look a couple meters away at Sveta, and she's got this weird kind of like simultaneously horrified look on her face, but also I detect satisfaction. And I said, you did this. Well, I didn't have a hand to point, right? I'm like this, but I'm like, you did this. This was your plan. You intended for this to happen when I came in here. Now I saw fear in her eyes and anger, and she was a little freaked out. And all of a sudden, the hand that was holding the knife loosens, and he lets me go. And he never said it, and she never said it. But the way he looked at her, because I'm right next to him now, I could tell he was like, you bitch, you did plan this. You did this. You brought me here, got me drunk, and made me angry so that I would hold a knife to your boyfriend's neck. And he's like, Neil, have a shot with me. So, what did I learn from this lesson?
Sveta's a bitch.
Sveta's a bitch. And there are some people you just need to break up with. And that relationship did end very shortly after that.
Why was that then? I can't think of any reason why.
She was using her English to get to
My English, my passport. She wanted to become an American citizen.
She spoke English.
Not so bad. Yeah.
Neil, do you remember that Simpsons episode where Willie the Scotsman had to fight the wolf? Okay, you got me right.
That has to be recent because a guy just fought a wolf in the news about a week and a half ago. A real guy fought a real wolf.
What, you mean now?
Yeah, about
Really?
About 2 weeks ago,
Oh,
or even less.
okay, leave it.
Anyway, all right. Third story. I was running a nightclub. Let's say it's in the southern region of Moscow.
Nightclub is your stories about dangerous places, nightclub.
I did come to Moscow to run nightclubs, and that's what I did mostly the first 10 or 15 years that I was here, was running nightclubs. This club was in the southern region of Moscow, kind of between the gray line and the orange line. It had a cafe, a restaurant, a nightclub, and a casino. and a Krisha. And
And who was Krisha?
Krisha was a big deal in the 90s. Everybody had a Krisha. Your Krisha, which translates as roof, meant those nice people who were there to protect you.
I mean, who are they?
Sensible.
Oh, Солнцевские. Do you know what will happen if Солнцевские will meet Люберецкие? Солсберецкие. It's a joke.
Okay.
If Солнцевские meet Люберецкие, then they'll turn to Солсберецкие. Oh, come on! Salisbury's poisoning.
Oh, okay.
Russian
Okay.
flag calls us Solsberries.
Okay, I'm a little slow. Anyway, this is a beginning nightclub that I've got open and I'm starting to bring in customers. And our Krisha, and the idea of a Krisha is that they're there to protect you from other gangs, but most importantly, from the police and the government. So your Krisha is there when
They claim a popular
yes, they do. And when the tax inspectors come, it's the Krisha that comes and explains to the tax inspectors that everything's okay here. You can go away now. Protects you from other rival gangs, fire inspectors, all that stuff. So that, that seems like a Krisha maybe is a good idea in a sort of violent society, but in point of fact, our Krisha came in all the time and started fights in the nightclub. There was one time where this one tough guy took a big heavy metal chair, and I know it's a heavy metal chair. I ordered heavy metal chairs because if you buy cheap wooden chairs, they're broken in 6 months and nobody has a place to sit. So took a heavy metal chair, whacked it over another guy's head. This guy, the guy who had used the chair to do the whapping, just casually walked out of the club. The other guy, the whappee, is on the ground and kind of gets up and starts walking down the stairs. I go to look for him. He's laying in the men's bathroom on the floor. There's a pool of blood around his head, like this big. And I never knew this about blood before. When blood is pouring out of somebody's body, it's actually really quite thick. Right? Water on a floor, not so thick.
It starts clotting.
But even before the clotting, the blood is really thick. And
Pudding.
it's like, yeah.
It's pudding. It's called pudding.
Yeah. And so I'm like to my secretary / translator / assistant, with whom I never had sex, saying, call 911, not 0100. Call an ambulance. And I'm feeling like a superhero. I'm holding this guy's head together, not thinking about AIDS. I'm really not thinking about AIDS. I'm holding his head together, not thinking about AIDS, because I wasn't thinking about AIDS. But I could literally feel that his head had been split open, and I'm trying to hold the head together so that he stops bleeding to death. 5 minutes.
The brain was inside or outside?
No, the brain was inside, and as far as I could tell, the actual skull wasn't broken, but the skin had been broken and head wounds bleed like a mother. They really do. So, this guy's on the floor, big puddle of blood getting bigger. I'm holding his head together. 5 minutes go by, 10 minutes go by, 15 minutes. Did you call the ambulance? Yes, I called the ambulance. Call them again.
Jugular arteries were.
It wasn't the jugular, thank God. No, just a big head wound. 20 minutes come by, and this matronly woman arrives, kind of like a Teutonka, right? I'm feeling like I'm Mr. Hero. Oh, I'm saving this guy's life. And she comes in, she takes one look at the situation, and she's like, stand up, to the guy. And she just wraps his head with a bandage about 30 to the ambulance, and they go away. So the guy didn't die, I guess.
But you're not sure.
I never actually checked. Didn't even know his name. He was just victim in my nightclub. Another time in this nightclub, I'm just kind of walking around past all the tables, and I see that there are like isn't one that we sell there. So I just I walk past the table, and I pick up the bottle of vodka, and I look at them, and I walk away because I didn't speak any English.
It was Finlandia, right?
I think so. That's what I think they were drinking. We didn't have it. So I took the bottle of vodka away, and about 5 minutes later comes running up my secretary slash personal assistant slash translator, and she says, Neil. And she's in a panic. Her face is all red and almost tears in her eyes. She says, Neil, those guys at the table, they're our Krisha, and they're going to kill you. I'm like, what? She says, you took their vodka. They're going to kill you. So I'm like, okay, come with me. And I come up to the table, and I said to them, excuse me, but we don't serve that vodka here. While you're in our club, you have to buy our vodka. So I have taken your bottle of vodka, and I will give it back to you when you leave. And my secretary says, no, they're going to kill you. I said, you're really going to look bad in front of your bosses if you kill a guy for a bottle of vodka. So forget about it. And then I walked away. 5 minutes go by, and my secretary's back, and she's like, they want to talk to you. So I come back. Now they've got a bottle of Absolute on the table, which we do sell, which we did sell, and they wanted to drink with me because I was their new friend. So, what did I learn?
Comprehensible Russian soul.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what did I learn? I guess it's kind of like, if you show fear, you're fucked. If you don't show fear, people will want to drink with you. I guess. Yeah. So, ultimately, yeah. Three stories of danger in Moscow in the 90s. I'll tell like sexier and more disgusting stories at another time. So.
Like, you know,